Hi, welcome to Blinkity Bloop. I'm Drew D'Amelia.
And I'm Nick Padula.
And this is a podcast where we talk about movies that have come out recently. So if you are all about movies, I guess Blinkity Bloop is the podcast for you, because Blinkity Bloop is the movie podcast. People don't seem to know it for anything else. But what's wrong with that, Nick?
Well, what's wrong is our number one priority is the music of the band Blinkity Bloop.
Yes, and Blinkity Bloop is supposed to be known as Blinkity Bloop, right? The music.
Yeah.
So we have a real problem here, and we kind of went into it a little bit on the last episode, but guess what? We're doing something a little unorthodox that I am super excited about, is that I was so frustrated with the fact that Blinkity Bloop isn't known for what it's supposed to be.
Right.
The bands, which I realize it's weird talking about that on Blinkity Bloop. The podcast, not the band. But I was thinking maybe the best thing we can do is try to force a little bit of Blinkity Bloop into Blinkity Bloop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that I would be able to pull this off, but as of right now, it seems like it's going to happen. We have the other band members of Blinkity Bloop that are going to join us on Blinkity Bloop today.
Oh, man, feels like it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and it's exciting. I'm not sure if they've seen any of these movies we'll be talking about. We're actually going to be wrapping up 2018 movies. So we have one final grab bag. It's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
But we are tackling the rest of the movies that we saw in 2018, and I guess it'll be fun now because we're going to have the other band members.
Yeah, we don't know when they'll be joining us, but somewhere in the time we'll be talking, they'll show up.
They were supposed to be here now.
Yeah.
In fact, they were supposed to be here a while ago. We've been waiting for them for an hour, but you know, it happens. Like, Nick and I are also late to things, to rehearsals.
Yeah,
we get it. It's a band thing.
It's the nature of the music world.
If you were in Blinkity Bloop, you'd understand.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I have texted them, and it sounds like they are on their way. I genuinely think they're coming. I don't think this is going to be a thing where we're just sitting on our ass and they never show up. So.
Oh, yeah, we can usually count on them for things.
No, they'll be here. They will. Just not yet.
Right.
But I guess we can do introductions for them. I wanted them to introduce themselves, but I'm just kind of eager.
Yeah, having introductions in the middle of the podcast would be weird anyway. So
that's true.
Get it out of the way.
So there are 4 of them, and they're all really unique and fun, and I really think you're gonna like them. Mm-hmm. Eleanor is great. She is such a crazy person. I'm just so excited to see. You never know what she's gonna do, and so I don't know what she'd be like on a podcast.
Yeah,
I'm almost worried because maybe she'll do something she shouldn't be doing in a recording studio, but it's going to be fun.
She's a real wild card, for sure.
It's hard. I mean, I guess she's intense. She's definitely intense.
Yeah, on another level.
But it's easy to like her.
Yeah. She's an integral part of the band.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got Scoot.
Oh, Scoot.
Scoot is so deep, right?
He's very profound. I can't even really get into him. He's beyond my comprehension.
I've tried to figure out Scoot, but he's just not someone that you should try to figure out. He if you talk to him too much, he'll change you. It's great, but he does great things.
Yeah.
He's got a great mind. It's crazy.
He's kind of a mastermind.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's Nick, and I'm not talking about you, Nick.
Yeah, everyone always says that. There's we're naming the people in the band. There's Nick, and then there's Scoot, and then there's Nick, and people are like, "Oh, you already said Nick." No, it's other Nick. It can always lead to a funny.
It's always a little confusing when you got 2 Nicks, but we're talking about Nick that's in Blinkity Bloop. Nick that's in Blinkity Bloop the band. Which you, Nick, are also in Blinkity Bloop. But we're Nick.
I'm in the podcast and the band, while that Nick is in just the band.
Nick that's in Blinkity Bloop, not the Nick that's in Blinkity Bloop and Blinkity Bloop.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense when you put it out
when
that way.
he shows up, we'll both be in the podcast and the band, so
it might get a little confusing, but
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
He's, despite having the same name as me, he brings his own stuff to the table.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing. It is insane how much he has accomplished at the age that he is. Yeah. He's done so much that I'm seriously, I'm kind of jealous of it. I like it's almost sometimes a problem because they'll be doing things outside of the bands, which I get. People have lives outside of the band, even though I think all the band members would agree Blinkity Bloop is our number one thing.
Of course.
But yeah, you're just gonna be in awe. We don't even have time to talk about all the things he's done.
No, I guess not.
Yeah. It's great. And Nick, I mean, obviously you're solid too.
Yeah, I'm solid.
You are. All Nicks are great. All Blinkity Bloop Nicks are great.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we got Pete.
Who could forget Pete?
Pete is.
Oh man,
it's hard. He's just such a good guy.
It's hard to put into words how good he is.
He's. I don't know. He's a good guy.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take our word for it.
There's just something. It's. I feel we gotta. There's a better way to put it. I don't know how to put it. He's just a good guy.
There's a lot to him, but the best way to sum him up is he's good. He's good.
You'll get it when you hear him.
Yeah,
talk.
exactly.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yep.
And if you're wondering why they haven't been on the podcast this whole time, well, this is more something that Nick and I were trying out. I devised a bit of a plan, brought Nick in. It just kind of worked that Nick and I would be able to do this. Nick and I have more or less been a duo within the band, but
yeah.
It is. I'm talking about you, Nick. Obviously, not the other Nick that's in the band.
I hope you weren't going behind my back.
No. But yeah, it was never something that seemed like it could work out to get them in the studio. But with the recent despair that I've been through, I wanted to bring Blinkity Bloop into Blinkity Bloop because I want Blinkity Bloop to feel like it's Blinkity Bloop and not feel like it's Blinkity Bloop. So this is really exciting to me.
Absolutely.
And they're gonna be here. They are.
It'll be real fun.
It's not a fucking bit. They are gonna actually show up.
Mm-hmm.
But until they show up, we will get into movies, which hopefully we don't cover anything that they've seen and they could contribute to.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be cool. We can use some of these other mics that have been in this studio, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Without further ado, why don't we plunge right on in?
Mm-hmm.
Nick, I've got a hat here for you.
Oh.
Put your hand in this hat.
It's been a while since I reached my hand in this hat. I don't know if I could do it.
Hasn't been that
again.
long.
You're right. All right. I'm reaching in. I've kind of missed that shuffle.
Oh, you got the best shuffle, too. Because
Thanks.
this is prime shit in here.
It's a nice pile in there. All right. What do we got here? Yes. This one. Ooh, mama. This is a spicy meatball. And I think when I read the title, you'll understand what I mean when I said that Italian phrase.
Okay.
All right. So what a spicy meatball is White Boy Rick. White Boy Rick is about a young man in his teens who gets into the criminal underworld and soon finds himself mixing with a whole bunch of bad crowds. There's the normal bad crowd of the criminal side who sells drugs and deals in sex workers and all that grimy stuff. And then there's the unexpected bad crowd of law enforcement who use him as an FBI informant to gather intel on these different figures in the criminal world to, take them down. And you'd think like, oh, he's helping the good guys. But you gradually start to realize that the quote-unquote good guys aren't that good because when he needs them most, they basically abandon him. It gets to a point where he's arrested, and as a 17-year-old, he's sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Aw, jeez.
The most interesting parts for me are Matthew McConaughey, who plays his dad.
Of course, you always love Matthew McConaughey.
It's true.
Ever since Ghost of Girlfriend's Past.
Exactly. That's what did it for me. That's when I knew he was the one. But he plays White Boy Rick's dad, also named Rick, who kind of gets him into crime in the first place. And seeing his performance as a struggling father trying to provide for his children while also committing crimes is interesting. And I kind of wanted it to be more about him Because the main kid was interesting, but he wasn't Matthew McConaughey, you know? The other interesting part of it was seeing how far law enforcement would sink to get what they're after. Because it kind of just shows, like, this kid who was in over his head, and he could have just went to prison for a few years, but they end up basically destroying his life. And at the end of the movie, you hear a real-life phone call from him where he finally gets parole at the age of, like, 48 or something. And he already lost most of, like, his youth in prison. So it just seemed really unfair. And that's what hits you most in the end. Most of the movie, it's but that message and Matthew McConaughey kind of made it sort of seem worth sitting through.
Well, listen, you got your thing for Matthew McConaughey, but I've got my thing for the lead of this next movie.
Aha!
This is my... listen, I don't really idolize Hollywood people very much, but this performer... every movie on their IMDb. Sign me up.
Woo, yeah.
That movie, of course, is Assassination Nation.
Huh.
Okay, can you name a single actor or actress that appeared in this movie?
Joel McHale?
Shit, you're right. I can't... Okay, so Joel McHale.
And the guy who played Pennywise in It. The new It. Not
That's right. I didn't even recognize him. But
yeah.
I recognized the name and then put it together later. Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever. Mm-hmm. I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
Joel McHale is once again playing a character that is touching women that are too young for him.
Uh-huh. Hey, he's got an interesting habit of doing that.
We both saw this movie.
Yep.
There's not going to be too many movies in this hat where that's the case. It's very bombastic.
In your face.
It's very colorful.
Uh-huh.
There's a nice energy to it. I appreciate the pace. I suppose I appreciate the messages that are in there, such as guns are bad, bullying is bad, youth are dumb sometimes. But by the end of it, I'm like, okay, this was a ride. This was a journey that was pretty nice. But I don't know what the fuck any of this is supposed to mean.
It was a hodgepodge of messages, because at the end, it's just like, you know, it's doing the guns are bad thing. All the assholes have guns. But then the girls at the end have guns, and they're empowered, and empowerment's good. But then the gun message is like, what? Oh, the good guys are using it now? Oh, okay.
One thing, I liked this, but simultaneously it was a problem. And when I say what it is, you're going to go, Drew.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a trans character.
Yep.
And they just treated her like a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, that sounds like progress. Good. Why are you saying that's a problem, Drew, you naughty boy? It's because they had some really bad guys.
Right.
That just clearly seemed to be toxic masculinity kind of people. And
right.
Like, what are you, a homo? Da-da! And so they have this scene where they're really aggressively targeting this trans woman.
Yep.
But they're respecting her pronouns.
I was thinking the same thing. I was just as angry about that.
It was just, there was such a bizarre disconnect. I'm like, how can you, in earlier scenes, be like, what, you want to suck my dick, bro? Gay. But then, like, I respect your identity. Like, it was kind of a movie about a hacker that was just gradually revealing everyone in the town's personal information, and it's like an interesting commentary
right.
on how people can just demonize people for things that they don't deserve to be demonized for. Like, one principal character just had a picture of his young daughter, like, in a bath or something, and people are going, you're a pedophile for that. And I'm like, oh my, these fucking idiot kids. Yeah. That was almost a fun part of the movie, is being able to go, those idiot youths, which is like maybe not a good thing. But
maybe not.
It's a worthwhile enough commentary to make, because occasionally the youths can be dumb.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, it more just kind of went into like, isn't it crazy how women can be attacked for being sluts? And I'm like, yeah, but like the principal didn't like really have anything to do with it. So it was unfocused, but it was fun anyway. That's the best way I would describe it. I'd watch it casually. I think it's best watched casually.
Yeah.
Not thinking.
No.
I can just tell that they wanted to make a statement, so it's too bad that they didn't really succeed.
Yeah, and I just didn't like... I mean, I know the point was to show violence against women, but you're waiting for that cathartic moment where they turn the tables, and it doesn't come until the last, 15 minutes, and the rest of it is just, exploitation porn, basically.
I would argue there's only, 3 minutes of it? And
actually, yeah, 3 minutes.
it's not even that satisfying.
No,
it's
no.
really boring, actually.
they shoot at guys and hit one of them, and then... one guy gets stabbed. And
Yeah.
It's just come on.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Not satisfying in that way.
No.
But there's just so much going on that you can't help. And there's clearly effort put into elements of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not just stuff going on. It is well executed stuff going on.
Right.
It's just not always well executed in every area. So, oh well. Have this hat.
Oh, well, thank you. I always wanted a purple fedora.
How about you pick a movie that we're going to get real excited to talk about?
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I picked the right one, because this is one of the most exciting movies of the year. It's a nonstop roller coaster thrill ride.
Ooh. Oh, boy. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's Anna and the Apocalypse.
Oh!
Ah.
I was really excited for this movie.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the genre, and I bet you'll perk up a little bit too. It's a zombie movie. A zombie Christmas movie.
Oh.
A zombie Christmas musical movie.
Oh, okay. I was like, zombie movie. What do you take me for? Some peasant?
Zombie Christmas musical was all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
It was apparently based on a book, which I assume was not a musical itself.
Yeah, that would be hard to do in novel form.
But I was into the idea, and I didn't see trailers or anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw the genre and went, I want this to be great.
Right.
And so I took a chance on it because I feel like there's potential there. I'm always just enamored by the mashing of genres, which is why I really enjoy parody, because naturally it will match comedy with a non-comedy genre. And I was hoping for something really fun here. And it wasn't. I was so disappointed. It's not the worst movie in the world, but
that's good.
The music is not memorable. Mm-hmm. I don't give a fuck about zombies, I realize. I'm fine with a horror Christmas musical, but zombies, I'm so fucking done. I am bored out of my mind with the zombies.
Yeah.
I can't even remember if there was a time in my life where zombies were enjoyable.
Shaun of the Dead?
I literally can't remember.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. Maybe zombies aren't fun at all.
I mean, they're very generic and boring usually.
Were zombies ever fun for you?
I mean, I kind of like things like The Walking Dead, but only more so for the characters and the way they dealt with each other, and occasionally zombies came into it, but zombies were a side thing.
Were the zombies the appeal of The Walking Dead?
No.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Maybe zombies were never fun.
What? That's crazy.
Christmas is fun.
Uh-huh.
But Christmas is kind of in the background here. People will debate what makes something a Christmas movie, and for me, it has to feel like it's in the Christmas spirit. Which is why I could say there are movies that don't necessarily have Christmas decorations and aren't set near Christmas, but can still feel like a Christmas movie.
Right.
Like, I think Les Mis is a Christmas movie because a lot of the themes are just about, being good and treating your fellow man well. I don't really define Anna and the Apocalypse as a Christmas movie because, I don't know, the themes just did not exactly feel like they were in the Christmas spirit. I was really excited at the idea of taking the apocalypse, which is debatably the most bleak event that you can have, and finding a way to just pull out a theme about humanity and kindness and goodwill and shit like that. And they didn't. The emotional resonance, I guess, was just about moving on with your life, which is fine, but it's not really Christmassy.
No.
And They didn't do it in the best way either. I wasn't really that into the characters either. They were all right. They were different enough, charming in their own way, but not exceptional. None of the plotting was that good. A lot of the jokes didn't land.
Did it take itself seriously at all?
Yeah. I mean, it took the premise seriously enough. It was trying to, like, the musical aspect. It took the musical aspect seriously. It took the Christmas aspect seriously, I suppose, and the zombie stuff. I mean, you had people that died, and they were genuinely treating it as an emotional, upsetting moment. And yeah, it had some violence too, had some intrigue there, but it just didn't connect. I guess the best I can say is that it was kind of lazy. Outside of the fact that I didn't feel it was really actually a Christmas movie, so I would almost like take that out of the genre and just call it a zombie musical. And they're like, well, I don't give a fuck about zombies. I was like, okay, so it's just a musical. If I'm just ignoring genres I don't like. But then the music is pretty forgettable. So what do I have here?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the performances are okay, and they make jokes sometimes, but they're bad.
Oh.
And that's the thing is, you're able to tolerate and forgive a lot in a movie if there's a lot going right. But there's just so much disappointment that when these things didn't land, I'm like, nope, I'm not letting that go. So something that bothered me is she had this candy cane weapon.
Oh.
It was really cool. This is this giant prop candy cane, but it's like sharpened into a spike at the end.
Okay.
Well, that's a fun image.
Yeah.
That's a fun weapon.
Right.
Almost every single fucking time she used the blunt end of it. I'm like, stab someone with it. What's the point of having a point if you don't use the point?
Good question.
It bothered me so much. What the fuck? That weapon could have been utilized in a lot of interesting ways. I mean, it's like part hook, part stabby.
It's a good mix.
There's a lot that can be done.
Yeah.
But oh well. And then the apocalypse didn't deliver the zombie Christmas musical we all wanted in our lives.
Maybe the next one, whenever that'll be.
Yeah. Well, actually, guess what? I can't promise this next movie is a Christmas zombie musical, but it is a really interesting genre mashup.
Ah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That movie, of course, is the Tale.
The Tale.
Yes. So I'm gonna guess what genres this, because The Tale I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
And when I see the title, I'm thinking, okay, this could be anything.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say that this is a Western. A Western. There aren't many genres. I've like started thinking of Pokemon types instead. Like
A Western Pikachu.
It's not a Pokemon type.
Oh, electric.
It's a ground fairy movie. Like it's a Western. It's a Western
Romance.
No, it's a Western.
Sci-fi.
Shut your fucking mouth. It's a Western psychological thriller.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds
You don't
like
see
it'd be
very
fun.
like you don't associate Western movies with psychological thrills.
No, yeah, you don't.
All right.
So this was not that.
Fuck.
This is a very serious, heavy drama. It is based on the filmmaker's life and her recounting her childhood and when she was sexually groomed by child predators.
Oh no.
Yeah. It shows her being a documentary filmmaker and going through her life, like going to these different parts of the world, having a great time. And then her mom calls her like, hey, I found this journal you wrote when you were 13 and it's freaking me out. Want to come read it? She's like, oh, Mom, you're so silly. And then she reads it and then she realizes a thing she thought was a fun summer fling with an older gentleman was actually a pedophile.
Oh.
Yeah. So the movie does really interesting things. It plays with memory in a kind of visual way. Like, we don't always remember things right, and our memories kind of change. So we start off with the scene. This girl's in her mid-teens. She meets this handsome older gentleman, and, things play out normal. It's a little creepy with how flirty he's being, but she's in her late teens, so it could be worse. And then when she talks to her mom about this memory, her mom's like, oh, no, you were 11. And so it replays that scene with an 11-year-old, and it gets infinitely more uncomfortable.
That's visually very interesting, as harrowing and awful as that is.
Yeah, and I was just locked in from that point on, and it jumps between like the present day with her trying to unravel this trauma she pushed down and repressed, and then jumping into the past and showing this trauma gradually play out. And it's just very compelling and dark. And it was interesting because it was two adults preying on her. It was her gym coach and then her horse riding instructor. I was devastated through most of it. There was a sexual assault scene that made me more uncomfortable than I've been in most movies because it was with an 11-year-old.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was real, and like you wanted to like reach through the screen and beat the shit out of this awful man, but you had to sit and watch this horror take place and realize that this happens everywhere and this isn't an isolated incident.
Oh man. Well, that was all really heavy.
Yeah, let's hope we can get a happy movie now.
Well, I asked for that last time, and unfortunately you didn't deliver, so...
No, I'll have to try harder. All right.
Come on, really concentrate. You're gonna pick a real upbeat, light
fun,
movie.
goofy, fun time.
Yes. All right. Here we go.
All right. Well, I'm going to say it. I failed again.
You failed again?
Yeah, I failed. I did not get a happy movie.
Oh.
I got a cripplingly sad movie, which is Science Fair.
That is a very upbeat movie. What have you done?
Oh.
Come on.
Whoa.
You had it. You had it, and you fucked it up.
I didn't...
Incredible.
Nuts.
I actually didn't give much of a fuck at all about Science Fair.
Okay.
I thought that it was well reviewed, and that's technically true, but in hindsight, I'm thinking, I don't know that this was a popular movie despite being well reviewed. I'm not sure how many critics actually saw it or even know about it. It was a National Geographic documentary, I believe, about kids competing in a science fair, and I think the big gimmick was, hey, did you know the science fair is a big thing? And it's like this big global competition where a bunch of kids that are smarter in it. And none of that information surprised me even remotely.
No.
But yet that makes sense. Oh, these kids are really smart. Yeah, I believe it. Sometimes the kids don't win. Yeah. There was absolutely nothing here that was surprising or interesting to me. I thought maybe they would delve into what the projects were that these kids were doing, and they mostly did not. They kind of did, but not enough where it would be interesting, and that's the problem, is that I'm clearly trying to stray away from what this movie's supposed to be. Why don't we just, make it a movie about the science projects?
Yeah.
No. It's just supposed to be about these kids going through the science fair. And I think my favorite part is the ending, where you just find out what happened to all of them. And even though not everyone won, it was pretty much a happy ending for everyone. Their hard work paid off, and there's just something very nice and uplifting about it. I'm like, great, these kids deserve it. And there's this one teacher, too. She's just a great teacher that was really pushing her students, and you could tell she cared so much, and she was so passionate. And basically, it wound up paying off for her. Her hard work paid off, and that was exciting, too, because you just liked that teacher a lot, and it was great to see things pan out for her. So, it was feel good, but I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend it, I guess. Let me tell you, there is a lot of stuff in this movie I'm about to pick.
Oh.
It's crazy. We're going to be talking about this for a long time, actually.
Oh, wow.
Really. It may be longer than any other movie we've ever discussed.
Whoa, that's intense.
So brace yourself. You ready? You might want to take some deep
I'm
breaths.
bracing.
Okay, we're all warmed up.
All right.
We're ready to do the long conversation
Now.
about Green Book. There's a chance this is going to be our Best Picture winner.
Oh, boy, do you think it deserves it?
Oh, it must be important if it wins Best Picture.
Oh, yeah, look at the King's Speech.
So I don't... you know what? Honestly, this is probably the movie I would want to talk about the least of any 2018 movie.
Wow.
It was fine. Viggo Mortensen, is that how you say his name?
Yep.
He made a fun, gluttonous Italian.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't care. I don't know. I'm tired of seeing these kind of movies of... This is racism from the perspective of a white person. I'm just bored with this kind of movie.
Yeah.
I don't care about the perspective of a white person seeing a black person that becomes their buddy. Like, hey, you know, the world's kind of racist and I should be a little less racist. I know, I get it. It's so fucking obvious. Do you have anything else that's interesting to say here? Now, at one point, this guy winds up being gay, but it shows up for a scene and never comes back, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it's based on a true story. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Okay. I think the most interesting part of this movie to me is that this black character, whose name I cannot remember because he's totally forgettable to me, would travel to places and perform music, and the people in charge of the place he was performing for were often racist. You had two specific owners of clubs that were racist that the movie focused on, and they were both played by men who had starred in Disney Channel sitcoms. Oh. And it was just a little odd. I'm maybe the only one that would be noticing that.
Which sitcoms?
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, you got Arwen.
Oh.
And then the dad from Even Stevens.
Oh.
They're just both there. I mean,
Wow.
Listen, I know that people that were once involved in Disney Channel probably got a lot more to give, and they give it.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, it was a little distracting. I'm like, did they? I'm sure they weren't on set together at any point, but like,
no, like connecting on your Disney Channel days.
Just seeing your Disney Channel role models become horrific racists.
Yeah.
Just pick a movie.
Alrighty.
Do a thing.
Doing the thing.
I'm in a funk.
Get out of that funk, you.
Oh, make me.
Well, this is a fun funk.
A fun funk?
It's funky.
Oh.
There's a lot of dancing involved.
Oh.
It's groovy.
Oh, my.
Because it takes place in the 70s.
Hey.
At a disco.
Okay.
And this movie is mid-90s.
Oh! You know what? I was gonna make a fucking joke, and I wish I did, where you kept emphasizing groovy. I'm like the 90s. And if I fucking made that joke, I would have been a genius right now.
You would have been. Could have been a contender.
I didn't care that this movie existed. Like, okay, yeah, the 90s happened. It's something to be nostalgic about. Hey, look, it's filmed like it was in the 90s. It's a box.
It's got a weird aspect ratio.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't enough for me.
No.
Did the movie offer anything beyond that?
It did have some emotional stuff going on. I will say, when I went into it, I was like, it's like Boyhood, but it's just stuck in 1 year of the kid's life. And it's way shorter. But I think I liked it better than Boyhood.
Really?
Yeah, it just didn't have a real plot so much as you were just following these characters as they went through their lives and all their problems. And that was compelling. I didn't need a plot if the characters were interesting and the stuff they got into was interesting. That's what I want.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun nostalgia trip we just had.
Uh-huh.
And it's fun to remember things.
Yes.
It really is. And I really think the next movie that I pick is going to be one of those things where 20 years from now we're going to look back and go, oh, man, remember this decade, the 2010s? which I suppose is going to be ending soon.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
1 year.
This is going to be the defining movie of the decade, really.
Wow.
When they make mid-2010s, this is going to be the movie that people have posters of in their bedroom.
Jonah Hill's going to write and direct it again, the sequel.
Sure. That movie, of course, is The Little Stranger.
This takes place in the early 1900s.
That's fine. It is still a 2018 movie, and it still can define the 2010s.
It won't.
It won't?
It won't.
It wasn't spectacular?
No.
Oh, no.
It was pretty good. It was a gothic, slow burn drama.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for this, and I went, there's no fucking way I'd ever want to waste my time with that. And apparently you decided this is right for me.
To be fair, I do like gothic slow burns, and because I just have a thing for gothic creepy literature that just works on building an atmosphere and then puts weird British people in that haunting atmosphere. It's the classic gothic setting of a spooky mansion, and it does that thing where there's mild supernatural elements, but for all the viewer knows, it could be completely manifested inside the characters' minds. Because all the main characters in this are a bit wonky in the head. It paints itself as sort of a ghost story, but there's only one kind of ghosty moment where a bunch of bells for different rooms were ringing at once. There's not even that many people in the mansion who's ringing these like 20 bells. So that was interesting. And then sometimes there's weird knocking, and you don't know because all the people are in one room and you hear knocking on the other side of the house, and it's just like, oh.
All right, fine.
Yeah. Yep.
I accept that.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'm going to accept your next movie.
Oh, well, you're going to have to because I'm going to pick it, and we're both going to have to deal with it. So.
All right, fine.
All right. So this movie was also a gothic ghost story.
Wow, that's crazy.
This one had actual ghost in it, so.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
Yeah, get excited for Shrek Retold.
Just I don't want to check my phone. I'm just gonna text them quick.
Yeah, just see where they're at. I'm sure they're on their way. Maybe there's bad traffic or something.
Just in the group chat. I get that they're late, but it's late.
We're a good chunk in. We don't want to leave them with just one movie or, God forbid, the conclusion.
Well, I would have rather them been here the whole time, but even if they just slip in at the end, that'll be fine.
It'll still be nice, yeah. But let's see if we can get them in for more if we can.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, all right, that's taken care of.
All right.
Shrek Retold. Shrek Retold is one of the most fascinating movies that I have seen. I would call it decade defining.
Wow.
Like I would genuinely say that this is one of the standouts of the 2010s.
That's quite the honor.
And you wouldn't think that, would you?
No.
Because to give it some context, Shrek Retold is essentially just really taken the Shrek meme to its zenith. And if you did not know about any of this history, essentially, there are movies called Shrek and the sequels that followed. And I really liked the original Shrek movie. And I think what made it appealing to people is that Shrek was an outcast, not just in his own movie, but in the landscape of movies. People are used to animation that was Disney style and even Pixar style, but they all had this feeling, and specifically we'll cite Disney, where it was very classic and characters really fit a certain mold. Shrek did not fit into that mold.
Nope.
And it was kind of a risk to tell a story like that, but essentially it came off as a parody of Disney movies, and I think people really liked that. People were ready to see something that different and embrace that, and ultimately Shrek was about liking Shrek despite the fact he was an outcast. And I think it was a great movie. I think it was beautiful. Then you had Shrek 2 happen, and it was equally good. Mm-hmm. But then something weird happened. Mm-hmm. Because now we have Shrek memes. And essentially, what I think makes the Shrek memes funny, I think the reason that people are enjoying them, is because specifically Shrek is funny looking.
Yeah.
And so I think the basic humor behind these Shrek memes is Shrek is a silly looking ogre What a goof. And it's weird because the memes, I mean, it's hard to know the intention behind every individual meme, but collectively it seems like the people making these seem to think that they're saying something clever or that they're making fun of Shrek. But in reality, Shrek was always that's the point. He's an outcast. He's not like the Disney movies. I feel like these memes are just saying the same thing ultimately with their humor. Isn't Shrek funny? He's not like Aladdin or something. What a ridiculous guy. That's what makes him so silly. And usually memes kind of feel like a commentary. Not all of them. But usually, I feel like ultimately there's some sort of commentary being made inherently. But this is weird because it seems like people are trying to make a comment about, like, isn't Shrek like an outcast? I'm like, well, that's what the movie was. Did everyone just forget? So it's bizarre that these memes seem to have forgotten what the whole point of Shrek is. And I kind of think that I figured out what might have caused this to happen. I think, first of all, basically, Shrek 3 and 4 were not really about Shrek being an outcast. I mean, they could have been about Shrek being an outcast, possibly, but they just decided to not go in that direction.
No.
It was definitely going to be trickier finding another outcast story to tell that was unique enough.
Right.
And so I think at that point, Shrek was kind of more normalized in his own stories. He was always a bit of an outcast, but definitely less so in 3 and 4. Since those are the most recent examples, it can be easy to forget what Shrek was supposed to represent. And also just the fact that he's so popular. I mean, if you really look at Shrek as a franchise and all the other popular shit out there, I feel Shrek does stand out as being an outcast among the popular things. But however, the fact that he is popular, it can be easy to forget that he ever had an outcast reputation to begin with.
Right.
And I guess the third thing is that the third and fourth movies weren't really that good. So I think people just kind of forgot about the fact that they enjoyed Shrek in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that made them forget all about what made Shrek so wonderful, the very first Shrek. It's a very bizarre thing to see, because the way I interpret this, these memes are on Shrek's side, but don't even realize it. They think they're arguing against Shrek, but they're actually just strengthening Shrek's argument. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Which is important backstory for this movie, because essentially what was born of these Shrek memes was Shrekfest. And it's exactly what it sounds like. And Shrekfest itself commissioned a movie to be made called Shrek Retold. So what is Shrek Retold? They took the first Shrek movie and they got 200 artists to recreate different bits of the Shrek movie. So you have the very one-of-a-kind experience of just watching an hour-and-a-half movie where the style is constantly changing. It is mostly animation, but sometimes live action, and it all feels different. And that, in and of itself, is just a lot of fun. You could have an original screenplay, and it would still be a crazy movie to experience.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, you have the fact that it is Shrek. It is a movie you are familiar with. And that helps, too, because if you like Shrek, then you also like this movie. There's a solid foundation. But then you also have this weird history, this meme backstory that is so fascinating. This all just culminates in such just one of the most unique movie-going experiences I have ever had. It is like so fucking interesting, Nick. And I really feel like this is the movie that could kill the Shrek meme if it wanted to. Listen, I don't mind the Shrek meme.
Yeah.
It's fine. I get why it's funny. It is still funny, even if it is siding with Shrek. But basically, what I am getting at is that these memes secretly love Shrek without realizing it. They're not being as ironic as they think they are.
Yeah.
You see a movie like Shrek Retold, and I believe the intent was to be ironic. But just to make this movie, so many creative people had to put in a lot of genuine effort, and it just comes off Like, it's not really that ironic anymore. When you see that kind of love and dedication put into a movie, you think, they might just actually like this. And that is what I think is going on the surface. It's just the question of, will anyone actually notice this? Possibly not at all.
Right.
Because most people probably don't try to interpret memes.
But more people need to.
I think it's a very interesting thing to do. I think there could be a great documentary about the American memes, but, we don't have it yet, apparently. Nope. But, this could kill the Shrek meme. Because it's just... It's so fascinating that there's this love and people don't even know it. And the love is just getting stronger and stronger. And I feel like it's going to burst like this absurdly positive way. You know? We love Shrek. We just actually love him.
I mean, I don't really want the Shrek memes to die because there's that one with like Shrek and Hitler falling in love.
Yeah, I mean, we can analyze why Hitler is a meme too. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with that, and I find it quite funny. And I don't think I want the meme to die so much as I want people to realize you just love Shrek. You love Shrek.
Just Shrek 1 and 2, though, not the franchise as a whole.
But we might be headed there. Because this movie, I feel it's gonna have to be an awakening to some people. A Shreksual awakening.
Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Well, that's where we're ending that one. All right. Well, I wasn't anticipating I'd talk about Shrek Retold that much.
Me neither.
It's a bit of a messy experience. So you know what? I think we're gonna have a very clean, concise conversation when it comes to this next movie. Yeah, this is one of those movies where it's just in and out. You know exactly what you need to say about this movie, which of course is Damsel.
Do you?
Did you see it?
No.
What?
No.
You didn't see Damsel?
Afraid not.
I think you would love Damsel.
Are you serious?
I think this is way the fuck up your asshole alley.
Really?
Yeah, no, for real.
Okay.
It's a great commentary on being a damsel.
Oh.
And I'm talking like a modern commentary.
Okay.
But it takes place in the West. And there's something really... Basically, this could be a modern movie that's just a commentary on what it's like to be a quote-unquote damsel, or essentially, a woman that is romantically sought after. And obviously, in these times of feminism and shit like that, not saying feminism is shit, there is a lot to be said. There's a lot to be mined about what it's like to be a woman.
Absolutely.
In these days. But what makes it so great that it takes place in a Western setting is that obviously back then they have these really traditional ideals and everything feels very epic in scope. Like, I've got this lady and she'll be mine forever. And it's just this big sweeping romance that is so beautifully countered by this commentary on how it's all bullshit.
Oh.
And it's so funny. And especially the way that it's told in terms of the story, it's very simple by the end of it, but you don't really know what the movie's going to be until you reach the end of it. So it's a very unique way of telling this story, and I always appreciate that, is that essentially they make it more exciting for you by not throwing everything at you at once and telling you what you're in for. And in some respects, I've almost spoiled a little bit of it because I didn't realize it'd be a commentary at all. I just heard it would be funny, and so I was up for it. Robert Pattinson was in it doing a comedic role as the lead. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And yeah, there are parts that are funny that don't have to do with the commentary. A lot of it is just kind of the dry cruelty of the West.
Okay.
But I think it's great. And no one was talking about this movie.
Huh.
But it's excellent.
Wow.
And you will particularly like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I do like... So it's like a dark comedy?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
And I do like those themes.
Cool.
Is that all I had to say about it?
It's all I had to say about it. Okay. In and out.
Wow, yeah,
Look
it was
at me.
nice and tidy.
I know.
Wow.
Are you going to make an accurate prediction?
Well, I haven't had a good run so far, so I don't want to say I'll start now.
You set yourself up for sabotage sometimes because you'll make something that I think we both know is just not going to happen.
I guess if I keep it very vague, there's a chance I'll get it right.
Yeah, but don't be cheap. But go, I'm going to get a movie. We have a chance to make some real predictions here.
Okay.
So
I'll give it a shot.
let's see.
All right. So, this movie is about a guy who's attached to an alien creature that makes him do a bunch of things he doesn't want to do.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's I see where you're going with that. Okay.
All right. And this movie is Borg versus McEnroe.
Oh, shit!
Was there an alien?
There's tennis.
For some reason, I saw the name Borg and I thought Cyborg, and I'm like, am I right?
Nope, it's just the last name.
Oh.
You know what I'm noticing?
What?
You know how they say that when it comes to making sports movies, that boxing is the sport that you want to go for because it's the most personal sport? It involves two people facing off against each other, things like that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree, especially because it's very physical.
Right.
But I feel like people have been sleeping on tennis, which is more or less the same thing, except people aren't touching each other.
True.
Battle of the Sexes came out recently, and I was pretty into that. And then this was another movie that was essentially also about a famous tennis match. And I just kind of realized, well, yeah, I mean, there's something very powerful just about two people competing against each other. And it feels very similar to boxing movies.
Yeah.
Like, do we have other sports like that? Foosball?
Fencing.
There probably are. Jousting? I
don't know if that's a sport we do anymore.
I could go... It's not, but I could go for just a serious jousting movie.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I would think there's no way they can pull that off, which is what would make it amazing if they did.
I guess martial arts in general.
Yeah. There are a lot.
Yeah.
There are a lot that I think we've been sleeping on. You know, I'm fine with all sports, honestly, but tennis... I did not think I'd be into two tennis movies, but I really liked Battle of the Sexes, and this was pretty damn good. Borg versus McEnroe, if that's how you pronounce both those last names. Shia LaBeouf was in it.
Okay.
He does some great work. He plays a very angry person, but it's not in the meme way. Shia LaBeouf. I won't get into Shia LaBeouf memeing.
Yeah, we covered memes for the day.
It's very raw and realistic, and that's this whole movie. It's a very realistic character study of both of these characters, and you just see what they go through as they prepare for this big competition against each other. And it doesn't exactly favor one over the other. It really focuses on both of them. And I'm not sure that by the time the movie wrapped up that it felt the most complete and the most fulfilling. But it was a really compelling ride regardless. And that final game, it was just great because you didn't know who... I don't know the history of the game, so I didn't know who would win. And it was a really exciting game. And you were kind of invested in both characters. You just... I don't know. It was so ambiguous. You didn't know what was going to happen. That really added to the tension. The fact that you weren't specifically rooting for someone, it basically meant that there was more to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because if the bad guy loses, it's fine, but you don't want either of these characters to lose.
And that does up the stakes.
Yeah, and one of them did. I'm just shocked. I mean, it could just be a coincidence that we have two very good tennis movies in a row, but tennis might be the next big thing. I'm calling it.
Ooh.
Tennis movies.
Tennis.
Yeah. Let me see if I can make an accurate prediction here.
Do it up.
I'm not going to go exactly for what you went for. But I'm going to say that this movie right here is a suspenseful movie.
Okay.
It is very well known for its suspense. All right?
Okay.
And that movie is Peppermint. Fuck.
Is this that movie with Jennifer Garner where she has to avenge her daughter who was killed by MS-13?
Yeah. It's not suspenseful. It's just thrilling. It's one of those movies where a character's family dies and then she spends years just training so she can get revenge. And in a lot of ways, it's John Wick.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it has the finesse or the talent that John Wick does,
Didn't
but
seem like
in
it.
terms of an unstoppable force just constantly mowing down bad guys in different ways, yeah, it was that.
Okay.
And honestly, that's not something I really have a problem with. I was fine with it. I'm not like, it's a chick. I'm like, I don't think it fucking mattered. I completely believed she was killing all of those people. So I had enough fun with those parts. Except, that's inevitably not going to be the whole movie. And John Wick is smart about it because it keeps things very, very simple. So you just have this very basic thing that you're riding along on. And it also sort of plays things up and gets a little hammy too. So it makes it fun. And they didn't really try anything outstanding or interesting to fill in the sections between all the gratuitous violence.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, not much there beyond just watching people die by a badass, which is fun.
Yeah.
Next movie.
All right, reaching in. All right, so this movie has a strange political message that comes out of an uncomfortable time in our country's history.
Oh, man. I didn't want to get political.
Let's try and avoid it if we can. We'll skirt around it if we have to. But this movie is 22 July, which is a little relevant.
That is political. Shit, it's about terrorism.
And wasn't it like far-right neo-Nazis or something?
Yeah, I didn't pay like too much attention to the movie.
Wasn't it?
It was based on a real event.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talking, and I don't remember all of it. I didn't do my own research or anything. The scene where the terrorist killed a bunch of innocent people was so raw and upsetting to watch, and you just hate this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And it's so unpleasant because he's captured and basically they have to give in to his demands to a certain degree. Like they have to give him food because they don't know what kind of information he has. And they have to let him talk and monologue about shit. And you just hate this smug fucker. Like it doesn't matter that he goes to jail because he never really has a moment where he feels like he lost.
Yeah.
Like he feels like he set out to accomplish exactly what he wanted to. And the movie doesn't pretend that it's okay that people are dead. Not that I would expect it to go like, good, they're dead. But it doesn't sugarcoat that it's like gonna be easy to move on.
Right.
It really just shows you this fucking sucks so much. And yes, it is as hopeful as it can be in a realistic way. But this was just a tough movie to get through. And it almost feels wrong to make a movie based on that. Because I feel like you have to let this really impact you emotionally. But I think most of the time when people watch movies, the fun of it is you get to feel these feelings of joy or sorrow or fear, but you don't really have to connect to them. You don't have to take it seriously. But when you have movies like this based on a real event, it feels wrong for you to just kind of use that event to experience the thrill of feeling sad and then just let go of it and go, yeah, well, that wasn't important. Like, you don't want to, kind of like a roller coaster or something like that, where you go on a roller coaster to feel like, oh shit, I'm going to die. But then like, I don't have to worry about actually dying. That was nice. And I'm like, I feel like in a way, I mean, yeah, it's a movie. So we are essentially making entertainment out of this horrific event. There's a whole other conversation that you could pick a whole host of movies to talk about. So I don't know, it was definitely an affecting movie, but I guess I kind of wonder if it's exploitative at all.
Yeah.
Need a real palate cleanser now.
Yeah, again, we've hit some dark ones in this episode.
Whoops.
Awkward.
All right, I'm really shuffling these good.
Yeah, you
I
better.
almost want to do something bold and not even make a prediction and just read this.
Oh, man. What?
But I feel like I should say something.
Okay.
So I'll just say this. This is a movie that made me really believe in the power of movies.
Oh.
I'm not really a movie guy, but this movie made me start to get it. What movies are all about.
That's great.
That movie is Matang, M.I.A, M.I.A.
Matangi, M.I.A, M.I.A.
Matangi?
Matang. I don't entirely know how to pronounce it, to be fair. Matangi, I'd say. So,
I don't know what this is.
the title is kind of strange. It represents 3 different names the subject of the film is about. The musician M.I.A. She is a Sri Lankan British rap artist. And you might be familiar with her song, All I Want to Do Is... and a...
Wow, really good.
Yeah, thanks.
You're really doing her justice. Is she still alive?
Yeah, she's only like early 40s.
They already made a documentary about her?
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty unique in terms of musicians. She, I mean, her home country is currently in this, like, civil war thing going on, and they go into that. She's also a big political activist on top of all this, where she's trying to draw attention to her home country and get people to realize, hey, there's genocide going on over here. Do you guys want to look at that instead of just doing all this other dumb shit? And it not only goes into her past and her life as a musician, you follow her going on a trip to her home country and trying to reconcile her life as a British citizen and someone who was born in Sri Lanka. So her father was actually the head of this resistance movement working against the oppressive government. And people in the media, when they hear about this, they're like, oh, he was a terrorist, which is weird. And then they're like, oh, M.I.A. is a terrorist because she likes her dad who fought against the government. And because they killed people and occasionally civilians were caught in the crossfire, that labels him as a terrorist. It's very interesting seeing the kind of bigotry with that, and she doesn't really feel that too much in Britain. She gets glimpses of it, but she really gets it when she goes to America. So she's enjoying her rap career, but as soon as she starts bringing up serious issues, people try to dismiss her. And it makes me angry seeing all these smug people being like, all right, little girl, go, play soldier or whatever. And then you see her in these war zones filming herself because she originally wanted to be a documentarian before she became a musician. So it's a documentary about a musician who wanted to be a documentarian. So it's weird and meta because she's filming herself in Sri Lanka, talking to all these civilians, giving all these horrifying war stories about neighbors dying violently and this traumatic shit. And then you hear her go, all I want to do is...
Did she make the documentary herself?
It was a close friend of hers she knew from college making it.
Okay.
And she's kind of supervising, and then she provides her own stuff when she recorded herself.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to document yourself.
Right.
But she sounds like a captivating person.
She is.
Wow. Well, guess what?
What?
Pick from this fucking hat.
Okay.
I'm getting lazier with the transitions.
That's okay. They don't all have to be creative.
Wow. Rude.
Oh, sorry.
Just because I was getting lazy doesn't mean I wasn't trying my best to be creative.
Okay, so this movie is a documentary about a painter who was a very controversial figure in their own way.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this painter was the kindergarten teacher.
Was she an arts and crafts teacher?
Well, interestingly enough, she was a poet.
Okay.
So it's a form of art.
Sure.
So this is a kind of American remake of a film that was made in Israel. And it kind of, like the title implies, it follows a kindergarten teacher specifically as she kind of hones in on one of her students who shows a propensity for poetry at the age of like 5. And the kid like is able to come up with these really impressive poems for his age off the top of his head, and she's like blown away by this because she's going to writing classes and stuff, and she's struggling to get attention in these classes, and her teacher passes her over and says like, no, these are okay, and then she sees these poems and she's blown away. So without really asking the kid's parents or the kid, she takes one of his poems and reads it in class, and everyone's floored by it, thinking it's her poem. And it's kind of funny because it shows them overanalyze a 5-year-old's poem. And it shows how bullshit the art scene can be when, like, you can go into this much made-up detail for something that was thought up on the spot by a little kid.
Yeah.
So that's really funny in its own way. And it starts to get weird, though, because she starts kind of grooming the kid, and she says like, oh, Mozart, like, he was a prodigy, and everyone, like, kings and queens massaged his feet, so we have to nurture his artistic ability. And this kid just wants to be a little kid, and who occasionally comes up with poems on the spot, and he thinks nothing of them. He just does it for fun. So she like corners him, and she's like, all right, we're gonna go on this like trip to this like poetry reading thing, and he's like, can I go to the bathroom now? And it's just like really sad, because like you want to see this kid like live, you want to see him be a talented artist, but if he grows out of it, he grows out of it. And she's like, so many kids these days throw away their like opportunities for like bullshit. And like you see that in her own kids, because she has her own family, and her kids are like teenagers, and her daughter's like, you know, an Instagram person, and her son just wants to go into the military, and neither of those things are what she wants to do. So she's trying to live vicariously through this little kid. And gradually it goes from like a mentor-mentee thing to like a really unhealthy place, because she basically kidnaps him. It's just a very fascinating story about a woman who just gets too obsessed with trying to be a part of this kid's life. And it shows how the mentor-mentee relationship can be almost parasitic at times. And it's really interesting.
That's a great concept for a movie.
Yeah.
All right, moving on with the hat. Before, just quick, any, I'm still not getting anything.
Let me see.
I know service is spotty here sometimes, but...
Yeah, no text from them on my end. Nothing on yours?
No. I might try to turn my phone off and on again while we keep talking. I don't know, it might jog something.
Maybe that'll...
We're connected to internet, though.
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't get them. I don't know why. Maybe they're in a bad, spotty Wi-Fi place?
I don't know. I mean, say what you will about Mrs. Sealand, but the Wi-Fi here is pretty decent.
Yeah.
All right. Who's picking now? I'm picking next. Okay, this next movie is going to be the movie where our bandmates show up right in the middle of it and surprise us. And it's going to be an appropriate one, too, because this is a movie about surprising things happening.
Yeah.
And that movie, of course, is My Dinner with Hervé.
Hervé.
Hervé?
I guess you can pronounce it any way you want. Hervé. Hervé. Just as background, do you know the guy who said, "The plane, the plane"?
No fucking idea.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah.
You knew him before this movie?
Vaguely. My mom made...
My mom was that guy.
My mom was that short man. No, she made references to it, and I also knew he was in a James Bond movie.
Why is that a thing? Why do people care that someone was going, there's a plane?
Well, it was just a very interesting character, because you don't usually see short folks. I don't want to say the M word. the MIDGET word.
That's fine. You're just gonna make us all say it instead.
Yeah. People don't usually see them on like big successful shows, and Fantasy Island, the show he was on, was extremely successful for the time. Him and Ricardo Montalban were like the main characters, and it got him a lot of fame. And when I was watching this movie before I really started it, I assumed he'd be bullied and stuff for his hype, and you see glimpses of that, but a lot of it, he was enjoying celebrity life.
Yeah, it's mostly just a regular... Oh, I saw this also.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I didn't want to pull a cock with the balls on its house or whatever.
Yeah, you were holding your cards close to your chest there. You just whip them right out now.
I'm just gonna let you know. Yes, I've surprised I've seen this. And yeah, the fact he was a little person didn't really matter. I mean, it came up sometimes.
Yeah.
But mostly it was just kind of a rise and fall story. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I wanted it to be more about him being a little person, but maybe that's wrong of me. Because I think that's what made it a compelling story. Basically, I heard that this was the last days of the life of this actor. And from what I read up, the actor was in so much physical pain.
Yeah.
From his organs being too big,
right?
Which had to do with him being a little person. So I thought, okay, there's a very captivating story to be told here about this physical condition he has. But they didn't really touch on that. They more touched on like the emotional quality of it,
right?
Which was fine, but that didn't make it stand out very much from any other rise and fall to stardom story. You know?
Yeah, it's not something you think about much, but like dwarfism leads to a number of other medical problems, and it would have been nice to hear more about them.
Yeah, but instead it just seemed like he killed himself because he had regrets, which is so... I get it, he was depressed and things like that. Even his suicide seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really built up very much. You didn't even see him during the suicide. You just saw his hands.
He was like painting himself, I think.
He was covering
himself in paint. I'm
like, that was the whole meat of the movie. Not that I wanted to see him die, but I wanted it to be impactful. And it just seemed to like, oh, well, yeah, that happened. Like, what the fuck? Hey.
Yeah, it would have made more sense if leading up to it, it showed him in that physical pain, but you don't really see that. You don't see him grimace or...
No, not at all. I don't even think they mentioned it once.
No.
I think they just wrote it out.
Which is kind of doing the real-life guy a disservice, I think.
It is, and I don't know. I feel like the story, the writing of it was really obvious in certain points, and it made it a little hard to get through.
It hit a lot of very stereotypical like drama beats, and I don't know. The thing that made it stand out, I think, was Dinklage's performance.
It was a little hard to take seriously.
Yeah, the accent.
I get that is how the other guy was.
Yeah.
I don't know, that there's just something about Dinklage doing it that feels... You'll get used to it eventually, but I don't know. It's a very silly voice, and Dinklage just has a very intense face, which that also bothered me. They even showed it at the end. Like, here's what the real life Hervé looked like, and they do not look alike at all.
No, not really. It's just Dinklage in like a mullet wig.
Yeah, I don't know. Jamie Dornan, wow.
Surprising turn for him after coming from 50 Shades.
You know, I'm gonna say it's... I guess it's surprising, yeah. But I imagine he, along with Dakota Johnson, have acting chops, and they just didn't have a good showcase for it in those movies.
Yeah, and Dakota had her own good movies this year with Bad Times at the El Royale and Suspiria, so I'm glad that both of them are showing they got the chops.
Yeah, and Jamie Dornan had this and Robin Hood. So
well,
maybe something else, I don't know. But performances, yeah, they were probably the best part.
Yeah.
But it didn't focus on what I hoped it would.
No, not really.
I guess it's good in that it is a movie about a little person where the fact he's a little person almost doesn't matter, which is a fantastic way of normalizing it. Mm-hmm. But then it still comes up. Yeah. It does come up. It's just it's not critical to the movie, really, the fact that he is a little person.
Yeah, though it was interesting as he was going into his childhood how his dad was experimenting on him to try and give him a normal height. Like,
yeah.
I was very interested in that, and like that almost seemed like eugenics, and I was like, that's new.
And then that kind of went fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie was a fucking mess, but oh well.
It was pretty good otherwise.
Just giving a nice pause for the fucking band to show up. Oh, oh well. Still nothing.
Yeah. Nope. Nada.
Now they'll be. I don't. It's like weird. I don't want to speculate though. I don't want to waste time or.
Could they have
like
gotten
that.
into an accident?
I don't know.
I don't want to think about that, but I mean, if bad things happen to good people, I don't. No, I gotta.
There's
stop.
not a reason that they wouldn't come.
No.
Like they don't just flake and shit like that. Anyway, whatever. Just pick a movie.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, this movie, it has to do with group of people who get together and do what they need to do, and they don't let each other down. Huh. Wonder what that's like.
I see what you're doing there. I'm feeling what you're putting down.
Yeah. Okay, so this movie is Avengers Grimm Time Wars.
Oh.
That is a team.
Okay, have you heard of the Asylum? What? You haven't?
The Asylum?
Yes. The movie studio.
No.
They make very bad movies.
Okay, does this have anything to do with Marvel's Avengers?
You're fucking jumping the gun, bitch.
Okay, sorry.
Hold the fuck up.
Okay, sorry.
Alright, Sharknado, you heard of that?
Yes.
That's them, I'm pretty sure. But they've also made a bunch of knockoff movies, like Android Cop instead of RoboCop. Shit like that.
Okay.
H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds instead of just War of the Worlds. This goes back. Transmorphers, that might not specifically be their work, but it's definitely in line with their work.
Yeah.
So they'll make shit in the vein of Sharknado, which is original schlock.
Right.
But then they'll definitely make a lot of what they call mockbusters. And they're known for being lazy as shit.
Okay.
So I was just kind of leafing through, looking at their mockbusters, because I was curious how many they made in a year. And I'm like, wow, what the fuck?
How many did they make?
I mean, they make, 10 or so a year. It's interesting which movies they choose to pick. Like, that's going to be one we make a mockbuster out of. But one was just something that was very strange to me. Because most of these movies they picked, it just seemed really lazy. Android Cop is a great example. But then you had their take on the Avengers. And it was Avengers Grimm.
Like the Brothers Grimm?
Yes.
Huh.
So essentially what it was the Avengers, but with fairy tale creatures.
Oh.
So you had Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and Robin, Little Red Riding Hood. That was it. And I mean, this is the first movie, mind you, so there might have been more characters in it. But yeah, from what I know, they basically had Once Upon a Time combined with Avengers and just smooshed them together. And you can definitely say, all right, they just had two ideas and got lazy, so they just mushed them together, whatever.
Okay.
Sure, that's true.
Yeah.
But it resulted in something really weird, which is not something I'm used to from the Asylum, because I'm used to Android Cop, and then all of a sudden, what's their take on Avengers? Oh, it's Avengers with fairy tale creatures. What? It's just not like Revengers or something, with like a bunch of very similar superheroes doing very similar things. Now it's like got fairy tales and shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
Interesting.
So that's just a little backstory. That's not even the movie we're talking about. We're talking about the sequel they made. Just Avengers Grimm Time Wars. Because if you thought it was already weird, now there's time travel.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
like, what the fuck? And this was their response to, all right, we gotta make a mockbuster for Avengers Infinity War. Hey, how about Avengers Grimm Time Wars? Oh, wow, okay.
I want to ask right off the bat, is there like a fairy tale version of Thanos, like a big bad wolf or something?
No, it's not. you're giving them too much credit that they're trying to like copy the plot. I feel like they don't even follow the plots that closely in most of their mockbusters. I'm no expert, but for sure in Avengers Grimm, they're going in their own fucking direction.
Okay.
It bears little to no resemblance to Avengers Infinity
That's
War.
a little disappointing.
This actually bears more resemblance to Aquaman, because the main bad guy is an evil Atlantean woman.
Oh.
She has an army of Atlantis soldiers, and she's trying to take over the world. So yeah, there's also that.
Wow.
There's just a lot going on.
I guess.
And I was captivated by the existence of this movie. Because again, it could just be very lazy. It probably is just very lazy. But it's so weird. And I'm not used to the Asylum being that weird. However, the movie itself was super uninspired.
Okay, makes sense.
Occasionally funny because the weird came out, whether it was intentional or not. But honestly, we shouldn't kid ourselves. It wasn't inspired that this idea exists. It was laziness, and the laziness follows in the rest of the movie. Like, it's a very lazy movie. It's usually not fun. Don't see the movie because it's the Asylum.
They don't deserve it.
No, they don't. But you know what they do deserve?
What?
They deserve to have made this next movie.
Oh.
This next movie, honestly, I mean, I imagine all studios would want to make it. That's the kind of movie that this is. It's a real winner. That movie, of course, is Axel.
Is this the one with the robot dog?
You're motherfucking right. It's the one with the robot dog.
Oh, boy. I just remember seeing the poster for this and being like, I have absolutely no interest in seeing this. And I think it came out at the same time as this other dog movie called Alpha.
Yes.
And it was with a Neanderthal boy.
Correct.
That's very weird timing.
It is. This is maybe my most hyped movie of 2018.
Oh, my God.
Or at least it's up there. Because this movie looked dumb, and I'm like, I gotta see it. And I genuinely made a couple efforts to get to it in theaters, but it was so hard to, because no one gave a fuck about this movie, and it kept disappearing from theaters. And I was just running out of time. Like, at one point, they re-released 2001: A Space Odyssey in theaters, which I'd never seen before, so I went to go see it. I'm like, oh, man, it ran too long, because my plan was to watch Axel after I got done watching that masterpiece of a movie. Like, damn it, I didn't account for the intermission that they'd have in 2001, and now I'm gonna miss Axel. So I was waiting for it to come out on home video, and it took its sweet-ass fucking time. It didn't even come out until 2019. Given it was January 1st, 2019. Well, but still, I had to wait. But finally, it was time to see Axel. And then I was getting busy with, band shit, all this other social media garbage. Yeah. I finally got a chance to see it.
Great.
Right before we recorded, actually.
Wow.
It was the last 2018 movie I saw. And it was maybe one of the worst ones.
Perfect.
But when I say one of the worst ones, for me, movies that are really bad but fun are not truly that bad.
Okay.
This offered basically nothing at all. When I say it's a movie about a robot dog, the robot dog is a military weapon.
Okay.
It is the exact basic movie you're thinking of. If I told you, hey, go write a summary for Axel in 5 minutes based off what you would assume it'd be everything that you assume. It is so uninventive and adds absolutely nothing. For some reason, this robot dog was able to see videos that you've been in, and so the main boy had this dumb video where he basically said, "Send it," or something like that. Just this very dumb phrase.
Okay.
That is essentially supposed to be like, post this video on social media that I'm in. Yeah. Because he's about to do a cool trick. Whatever. There's your backstory. So the dog is about to self-destruct to protect the memories or whatever.
Yeah.
And the dog, as a final goodbye, replays that audio and like, send it. And jaw-droppingly stupid. You think that's powerful?
Wow.
That was it. There is literally only that moment. Everything else was completely boring. It's shocking. There's nothing to take out of this. Terrible movie. Terrible.
Wow, that's impressive.
Hey.
Yeah?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You feeling a movie from this hat?
Yeah, I'd say so.
How about you take one?
I think I will.
Because we're running out.
Oh, man. What is it? Only like... I think I'm feeling only 3. And
We've really emptied it.
Okay, so... You say that was completely uninspired garbage. Well, this was the opposite. It was inspired gold.
Ooh, here we go. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, and this was all about Nina.
Oh.
Oh.
All right, so all about Nina. You know Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
Yeah, girl from Scott Pilgrim is the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of things. 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Vampire Hunter, Abraham Lincoln Boy.
Yep.
I don't know why I cited that one, but it is true.
It's true.
I like her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I have a bit of a crush on her. It
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think she's very talented.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear that there's this movie about her playing a raunchy stand-up comedian. And I'm like, okay. I tend to gravitate toward movies like that. It sounds interesting. It's a female comedian, so that's always nice. So I went to see it, and I'm pretty into it for most of it.
Okay.
Because it's just kind of watching this fun character. You know, she's a bit troubled, a bit of a drinker, but it's just kind of fun watching her life. And then by the end of it, it just dawned on me, oh, I don't give a shit about any of this at all.
Why did you think you did?
Because I enjoyed her life, but I think I thought this was going to lead up to something.
Oh.
And I'm not saying it didn't, but it didn't. Basically, at the very end of the movie, they all of a sudden introduce all these drama moments that come out of fucking nowhere. And it's just embarrassing. Like, she makes this confession on stage that she was raped by her dad. And it's really emotional, but it comes out of left field. It's just like a moment like that. It wasn't laughably dumb, but it was embarrassingly dumb because it's really well acted. But I'm like, what? You gotta like build up to this or something. This isn't the kind of twist you could just say, yeah, it's a twist. Like, it's too serious. There needs to be something here. What the fuck? And then that was basically it. You know, the movie just kind of ended. And I was like, what did I get out of this? It was a fun character, but what did it amount to? Like, nothing at all. All right, this next movie. This is going to be my last prediction.
Oh, man.
And actually, you know what? There's only one more movie left in that hat. So,
Right, so
how about
50-50 chance.
we'll pick it out at the same time,
Okay.
and we'll make a joint prediction, I suppose.
Okay.
Even though we're both going to know exactly what it is, probably.
Yeah.
But for this movie, I'm going to say, for my last prediction, that this is a movie with a lot of meat.
Oh, meat.
Just a whole bunch of meat.
Piles of meat.
Yes.
Wow.
That is what I'm going out on.
Okay.
That is my hill to die on.
Okay.
And we have the house that Jack built.
Well, funny you should say that. 'Cause
Oh.
It's about a serial killer.
But that doesn't mean there's meat.
Well, when you kill a person...
They're meat before they're dead, Nick.
Okay, well,
Well,
when you're gonna nitpick...
When you said funny you say that, I was really hoping it's about a meat house. I'm like, oh shit! Like,
To be fair, he has a weird hallucinatory dream where he has a house literally made of corpses. So I guess it could be a meat house.
I appreciate you trying to work this out so I can have something. I shouldn't be arguing against it. You're a fine, upstanding person for doing that.
Well, the house that Jack built. I will say, this movie, I think, made me the angriest out of every movie I've seen this year. And I'd say Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich is a close second.
Wow.
And you recall how angry I got at that, right?
I do recall that because I was sitting and listening to it.
Yes. But this, I think, may top that out. Not because it's more offensive. It's still plenty offensive. But it's super, super pretentious. At one point, my jaw literally dropped, and I had to pause and rewind, and I'm like, did I really just fucking see that? For a little bit of background, the filmmaker behind this is Lars von Trier, and me and Drew have a bit of familiarity with this little Danish goofball.
I really don't have very much.
Literally, the only frame of reference we need is Antichrist.
I fell asleep during that.
Well, it's a good thing you did.
I really have no memory of it.
Did you at least see the part where Willem Dafoe got his dick smashed?
No, I didn't.
God damn it.
I heard about it.
You saw the baby fall out the window, though, right?
Nick, I don't remember what I did and didn't see, but I can confirm this. I have no memory of that movie.
It's probably for the best, because not only was it dull, it was also boring and exploitative. But Lars von Trier is a very edgelord filmmaker. He likes to shock people, he likes to do messed up stuff on screen, and he likes to think he's making a statement, but more often than not, at least to me, his messages fall flat on their face. Other people love him. I generally think he's obnoxious.
Fair enough.
As soon as I heard this movie, and I was like, what's his next movie going to be? Oh, it's about a serial killer. I was just like, oh boy. He's going to have a field day with all the potential exploitative violence. And he did. He's trying to make a statement like romanticizing violence is wrong, but he's still kind of reveling in it. And throughout the movie, during these little interludes when you're not seeing the murders, you see clips of like other things, like other works of art. You see like the Louvre, you see different works of architecture like classic churches, because the house that Jack built is about Jack being obsessed with architecture and wanting to build the perfect house, along with being a serial killer. So
of course
he likes murder and architecture, normal mix.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going through art and stuff, and then at one point, he's talking about film. And this part is the part that dropped my jaw. He's going through different clips of things, and then all of a sudden, I see Willem Dafoe on screen. And I think to myself, wait a minute, what's Willem Dafoe doing in this movie? He's not... And then I see Kirsten Dunst. And I was like, that clip seems weirdly oh my fuck. So Lars von Trier, while this character's talking about art, puts his own fucking video clips from his own goddamn movies in his fucking movie. Talking about fucking art. I was fucking stunned. I've never seen anything so self-congratulatory and masturbatory in my fucking life. And I've seen a lot of pretentious shit. I won't go into the other things that made me mad. I just wanted to give the biggest highlight.
So, just highly pretentious bullshit.
Absolutely.
Well, okay. I guess we're just gonna finish off these movies without the bandmates. We'll figure things out after this movie, but what's funny about this remaining movie is the last time we did grab bag stuff, we know what this movie currently is, yes?
Yeah, we do.
This is the movie that was left last in the grab bag before, too.
It's weird.
Like, we don't plan this.
No, we don't.
It is truly random, so it's like really trying to avoid being talked about, this movie.
It was just trying to save the best for last, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, because honestly, I think this might be the most important movie of 2018. So, okay, let's both reach into this hat.
Okay, reaching in.
We both grab an end of it.
Both grab it, okay.
And we'll read it at the count of 3. 3, 2, 1... Venom! Yeah!
Woo!
All right, so most important movie of 2018 is Venom. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
All right, great. So here's the thing that I think of when I think of Venom. I think of Spider-Man 3.
Uh-huh.
People poo-pooed Spider-Man 3, right?
It fell short of the original two.
I liked it, though, honestly. I mean, I remember when I watched all three when they came out, I didn't think Spider-Man 3 was any worse than the other two.
Not really.
I enjoyed it. Too many villains. It's more the merrier, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What is Venom like in the comics? How familiar are you with Venom? Are you like a super avid Venom fan, or?
He used to be my favorite comic book villain when I was a kid, because he was just the most interestingly designed, and like, I was, kind of gothy, so I like the creepy menacingness of him. He was extremely violent and remorseless, and Eddie Brock was always conflicted because he doesn't want to be murdering all these people, but this alien symbiote attached to him doesn't leave him a choice.
I'm not someone that's very familiar with the comics, but when I think of Venom, I just kind of go off what I see. Venom looks fucking terrifying. He just looks like one of the scariest fucking comic book villains that I've seen.
Yeah.
And especially in the marketing for this Venom movie, Venom looks like he's gonna be a vicious badass. Just terrifying to experience.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be.
So, was Venom silly?
No.
Okay, because
he was very serious. Maybe even too serious, but I don't know.
There's this really weird thing going on with Venom and Eddie Brock in this, where Venom is just kind of a silly guy that's making jokes. And it's very odd to me.
Yeah, it has certain beats that feel like a buddy cop movie, except one of the cops is an alien made of goo.
Yeah. I just... And listen, none of the jokes were funny either, and none of them made sense. This entire movie was a complete chaotic mess, and I loved it, honestly.
It was a lot of fun for all the wrong reasons.
I would genuinely say it's one of my favorite movies of 2018, because it was so fucking enjoyable for how much of a mess it was.
Yeah.
Who wanted this? I remember people were excited that the Venom movie was coming out, and I'm thinking, were people hyping this? Was this a thing anybody asked for?
I mean, I kind of just think people wanted a better cinematic version of Venom than we got in Spider-Man 3, because even if he wasn't that bad, he was only on screen for a very short period of time, and being one of the most popular villains in Spider-Man's rogues gallery, he deserves more attention, I think.
But did people want to see an origin story with Venom?
No, I don't think so.
So what the fuck? I mean, listen, I was a little I wasn't hyped for it, but I do like Venom. So I guess I was okay with the idea of seeing a movie about Venom. But what I was expecting was this vicious creature, like I keep saying. And you can tell that this movie wanted to be really violent. But one horribly noticeable thing that it did is it tried to cut out that horrible violence, which appears to have been done at the last minute accidentally. Like, they were never intending to do it, and then suddenly we're told, oh, we gotta make this PG-13.
Whoops, we already have all these beheadings.
So, it's so awkward, because you have these scenes where you can tell it's horrifically violent, but they're just kind of trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
It's like there's blood splatter all over all of your walls, and you just hang a couple pictures. Like, yeah, that'll do it. Like, no, like, it's still clearly horrifically violent. And so you just get to basically see that there was this violence, but you can't actually fucking see it.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating, but then it's just so tonally jarring, too. Like, the most shocking thing that happened to me is that at the very end of the movie, Venom eats this guy's fucking face. You don't get to see it, of course, because fuck this movie.
Yep.
But this guy's face was clearly eaten. The body's just kind of thrown on the floor. This is happening in a convenience store. And then the lady that is operating the convenience store just kind of looks a little surprised. And Eddie Brock's like, well, see you later. And they just leave. And I'm like, that's not the reaction you should have to horrific violence. And it's like they're trying to pretend it wasn't that violent. Like, its face was just eaten off. And there was another moment like this, too, where Eddie Brock's like girl or whatever, she was at one point Venom as well, except it was sexy Venom, I guess. It was like
weird.
Thick womanly Venom, which was very odd. Why doesn't what's her name, lady?
Michelle Williams?
Yeah, why can't Michelle Williams just be like a large, intimidating Venom too? And it's just like, I've got curves. I'm like, that's fine to jack off to, but come on.
Yeah,
like...
I was just wondering, the Venom suit, the Venom alien chose to be curvy.
Yeah, apparently. But then, okay, so she stops becoming Venom. She comes to, And she said, "Oh man, I ate someone's face off." And Tom Hardy's like, "Yeah, that'll happen." I'm like, "That's not how." Like, why are you acting like that isn't horrifying?
Yeah, what I'm trying to figure out with that is the guy's face in her digestive system or Venom's?
That's an excellent question. But the thing is, that could work in a movie that sort of set up that its world or its characters are just really used to barbaric things like that.
Yeah.
But no, these characters aren't supposed to be used to that shit. So this should be shocking, but they're just acting like it's not? So what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Also, the thing about Venom, which is really annoying, is that they established that it takes a real, significant kind of connection for Venom to be able to attach itself to a human host. Like, the stars really have to align. It's got to be a very specific match. And so that's kind of the gimmick. Oh, wow, Eddie Brock is a match. And now he's got Venom. Eddie Brock, this silly, goofy reporter dude, which I think everyone said it at this point, but what the fuck was going on with Tom Hardy? What was he doing?
His accent was all over the place. Like, oh, yes, I'm Eddie Brock. I'm nervous, and I sound like John Travolta.
It was amazing. I don't think anyone was upset.
No, it was just baffling.
I feel like if I were a big actor knowing I was in a shitty movie, I would do exactly what he did.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. And it's memorable.
It's kind of inspiring. But it was such a bizarre characterization that he got. And listen, I don't even know what the comics are. I don't know what Eddie Brock is supposed to be like. Is that what Eddie Brock is like?
It varies, but he's usually like Peter Parker's rival, and they butt heads at the Daily Bugle because they're both rival photographers and reporters.
Yeah, and there's no sign of Spider-Man in this at all.
Stan Lee shows up at the end.
Yeah, he showed up in what, thank goodness, is not his last cameo.
That would be a bad one.
But it was his last cameo while he was alive, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think in Spider-Verse, that was the first Marvel movie he had a cameo in since Stan Lee died.
Yeah.
Technically, Ralph Breaks the Internet, I think, came out before, but like that would just be an awkward place to put it. So in the Spider-Verse movie, it feels appropriate. That's the first tribute to Stan Lee. Imagine that shit's at the end of Venom. That would be so humiliating. Like,
yeah.
So thank goodness he chose to die after Venom came out. And it was such a weird cameo, too, because this is at the very end of the movie, and Tom Hardy and Michelle Williams are talking, and clearly Michelle Williams doesn't want to get with Tom Hardy. It's kind of like, oh, maybe they'll get together one day, sort of a playful romance. But Venom, and this is Venom in his comical form, in Eddie Brock's head, is like, she doesn't know this yet, but we're gonna get her. She's gonna be the girl of your dreams. We're gonna make this happen, don't you worry. And I'm like, what the fuck? It like feels really rapey.
Kinda.
Because like this Venom's voice is being silly, but it's it's like so horrifying.
Yeah.
So there's such a disconnect there. And then Tom Hardy's walking away, and Stan Lee comes up and goes, "You'll get that girl, don't worry." And I'm like, how did he know? Like, how did he know what's going on? Also, why are you encouraging this? Like, this is directly after Venom is very forced. Like, you don't know this yet, but you will be Eddie Brock's bride. It's like, oh, fuck. And Stan's like, I agree with the voice in your head. Like, no, Stan, maybe not. Like,
whoa, are you telepathic with aliens?
Oh, man. But, I was getting to this. Mm-hmm. Eddie Brock is a great match, right? But then throughout the movie, all these other characters that you know happen to also be a great match. And this movie established for a while that you'll die horribly unless you're a good match. So what are the odds that 3 characters that we happen to know wound up being great matches for Venom? Isn't that really convenient?
Wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Also, just on Venom's silliness, this is something I was thinking of, is that the girl, Michelle Williams, is trying to get rid of Venom. Venom's no good, which makes sense. Venom wants to take over the world and shit and probably kill Eddie Brock at some point.
Yeah.
Which is a little confusing, because when Venom's telling... Oh my, there's so much that I could talk about. Basically, Eddie Brock is asking Venom, after Venom has like been horribly threatening, can I at least do this? Can, like, make a phone call? And Venom just makes the quip, of course, I'm not a monster. Like, yes, you are. Like,
you eat people's heads.
Like, stop, what are you doing? Like, So there's a point where Michelle Williams is clearly making it known that she wants to get Venom out of Eddie Brock and basically kill Venom if she can. Venom knows this. But then Michelle Williams makes some sort of like comment about, I'm getting in the car with you. Eddie Brock goes, it's not safe. And he's like, I'm gonna do it anyway, Eddie Brock. And Venom's voice goes, I like her. And I'm like, why? Like,
she just tried to kill you.
She just made it known that her goal is to get rid of you, and you like her? What do you like her for? And then, of course, in the next scene, they get Venom out of Eddie Brock. Like, yeah. Venom, what were you expecting? Why did you... It's just, I don't understand his motivation at all.
Yeah.
Except there was one shocking motivation that literally, I fell out of my seat at how bad this line was. So Venom's goal was to take over the planet and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then after spending enough time with Eddie Brock, I guess he wound up really liking humanity. So I guess Venom changed his goal and went, I'm just gonna stay on Earth and have some fun being your pal. But then he added another thing. He said, besides, I'm kind of a loser on my home planet. Fell out of seat. Like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Listen, as I keep emphasizing, when I picture Venom, I picture the most horrifying thing in existence.
Yeah.
He called himself a loser? He's like supposed to be the opposite of a loser.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I can't imagine what the scarier guys on his home planet are like.
I would not want to imagine it.
No.
But that's so the opposite of what I wanted out of Venom. I'm kind of a wimp, guys. I'm a big baby boy. Like, stop
I get
it.
swirlies all the time by the other Venoms.
But you do have another Venom bad guy in this.
Yep.
Who takes over another character. Like, what are the odds? And then that's maybe the only interesting part of this movie is there's a fight between the two Venoms, and they'll hit each other so hard that you see the human hosts inside of them.
Yeah.
So that was actually a fascinating cinematic idea, I guess. Cool. But that's maybe the only praise I would give this movie. Oh, what was one of my favorite parts? Okay, yeah, in the very beginning of the movie, you have two characters back to back in a scene tell Eddie Brock to have a nice life. One is a reporter that rebuffs him from getting a story, and the reporter just shouts, have a nice life, Eddie. And then Eddie Brock's boss basically fires him, and the boss says, have a nice life. And I'm like, oh man, this is stupid. So rule of threes, there's gotta be another moment. Yeah. The next scene, it's Michelle Williams breaking up with Eddie Brock, and I'm thinking, say it. She's gotta say it.
Yeah.
But she just walks away. Like, it even fucking failed on that end, because it clearly established that she should say, have a nice life. So when she doesn't, you're just kind of left confused. Like, why didn't she say that?
Yeah.
It's like I spent the whole movie waiting for her to say, every time she showed up and left the scene, like, is she gonna say it? She gonna, like,
come on.
Like, it clearly stopped being appropriate after a while, but yeah. I was just left with that void. Like, you gotta say, have a nice life! Like,
rule of threes!
So at a certain point, I just gave up. Okay, this is probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then in the big fucking fight, when Venom deals the final finishing blow, Venom goes, have a nice life! Like, yes!
But at the same time, how did Venom know to say that?
I know, it was a pure coincidence, Nick. Venom just happened to say it, which is beautiful. It's also fucking lazy, but it's beautiful. Because Venom wasn't in the picture the first two times that line was said.
Yeah.
Oh, that was satisfying. Also, Tom Hardy did the voice of Venom too, right? Which I guess that was impressive, but this whole movie is just intense tonal whiplash.
Yep.
It tries to be funny, and it tries to not be violent, and both of those things are clearly harshly going in a direction against what Venom is supposed to be.
An accidentally hilarious bad line delivery. Like, another great example I want to give is Eddie Brock is in a really high up building, and he's about to jump out a window, and he stops himself, and then he just walks to the elevator, and you just hear Venom say, pussy. And it's just, like, baffling, because they think it's supposed to be funny, but it's not. So it's so unfunny that it becomes funny again.
What a spectacularly terrible movie.
It was hard to believe.
It really was. And I think there could have been a good movie made out of this.
Maybe.
It's fine. I guess it's interesting enough to see Eddie Brock and Venom. I guess you don't need Spider-Man. There is a story to be told there, sure. But wow, they fucked up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm excited for the sequel, because apparently we're getting a sequel.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson is going to play Carnage, who is another comic book villain, who's a lot like Venom, except he's red and skinnier. They have the same symbiote face, and they're both like gooey symbiote alien people.
Oh, I did not know that.
Except Carnage is the guy inside Carnage's alien shell is a serial killer. So even the moral core that Venom has is completely lacking in Carnage. So like with Carnage, it's gonna be a lot more violent.
There's gonna be carnage, is what you're saying.
I was trying to avoid that, but Woody Harrelson literally says there's gonna be carnage.
And I wasn't aware his character was named Carnage, so I didn't really realize the cringe of that line. But yeah, that's the nice thing that we have at the very end of the movie. Like, oh, good, I can't wait to look forward to this, and I actually can't wait. I am genuinely excited.
Yeah.
And that is an empty... We put Venom back in the hat? What the fuck? Like, which one of us did this?
Maybe me. I don't know.
Well, we were both holding it. It's a sign. Like,
we have to review it again.
So Venom. Like,
what about it?
I guess that is really weird. Okay, now the hat's empty.
Okay, now it's...
So that was an interesting sign that Venom will forever be important enough to talk about, I guess. But
I guess.
Empty hat, wow. And that's it for 2018 movies that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for the podcast episode. But let's...
Should we wait? Should we kill time or something until they show up?
Oh, you know, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll figure out what's going on. And they'll get here, and we'll like... stop recording now, and we'll pick back up. We'll like do an edit when they get here.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
Okay.
Cool.
Hi. Okay. So we have an update, which I don't want to share. Blinkity Bloop is not happening anymore. Not the podcast is, but
not the band.
They Blinkity Bloop broke up. Apparently what happened is they all had a meeting without us, and they had I guess been feeling things for a while, that things weren't working out in the band, and they just decided that they had had enough, and they were already ready to move on, but they were just dragging their feet with telling us, and I guess us pushing for them to come to this recording studio and join in on this podcast.
Straw that broke the camel's back.
They had to tell us they couldn't pretend anymore.
Yeah.
So, wow. I'm just kind of in shock. I almost don't believe it.
I'm still processing it myself.
I don't want this to happen. I want to see if we can get them to reconsider, but it sounds really final.
Yeah.
There's a lot of back and forth. I guess it's over. Nothing we say is going to make them want to be in the band. They've been thinking this for a long time. They've made up their mind. So, this just changes everything, and I don't know what to even do from here.
No.
This is brought to you by Fisher Mist Media. They do audio. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we can stop recording.